from my imagination project called Landlock. Landlock comes from the idea that a lot of people, particularly a lot of companies, have spare money lying around. They always have kind of reserve cash, emergency funds. And all this money, where do you think it goes? It cascades into the stock market. It cascades into investments, offshore accounts. What we're trying to do with Landlock, we're trying to look at how can we get that money instead locked away in sustainable investments in Lancashire that provide a long-term income that's secure and safe. So things like renewable energy or sustainable forests. That's one of the things we want to do with Landlock, but it's a lot broader than that. Because, let me tell you guys, the agricultural sector in this county, in the county of Lancashire, you think of it as a rural county, but the agricultural sector has collapsed over the past 15, 20 years. And that's a national trend, that's not just Lancashire. What we're trying to do with Landlock is we're trying to take all the literally hundreds of thousands of agricultural workers in this county, try and get them making micro contributions into a trust fund. And with that trust fund, we can use that money, set it up all legally. We will be the first SIFE team in this country, potentially in the world, to use the legal mechanism of trust funds to achieve this aim. We're going to try and use that to get financing for agricultural businesses. Because it's really difficult to get banks to give you money if you own a farm or something like that these days. We're going to try and help empower and train their workers so that their business model becomes more sustainable. Instead of them selling off half of their land when they reach the age of 60 to fund their retirement, we're going to go in and we're going to say to them, we've got the money and we've got the expertise, how can we help you diversify your business model? Look, tell us what land you've got, tell us what you've got. Can you run activity days? Can we put renewable energy? Can we put wind farms on it? What can we do? How can we help you? So it's a kind of consultancy project, very broad project that's trying to really address the agricultural problems in this county that have been addressed by, well, been identified by so many different bodies, but nobody's come up with a way to address it yet, and we really think we've got that. Aspire.
Aspire, just like Adam's got those two that kind of he's founded or created and worked on with people. Aspire is my project that I've thought of. And Aspire tackles the issue of employment. You think, why tackle an issue of employment in this climate, in this day and age? But it's a specific employment project. I'm working with people with autism. Now you think with anybody with a disability they struggle with employment, and that's absolutely true, and that would, you'd think, be the case. The stats for people with a disability getting full-time employment is roughly around 40%. You think that's okay? You can do better, but that's okay. The stats for people with a full-time employment with autism is at 15%. Myself, I'll happily admit or tell you all that I've got a younger brother with autism, and I'm a bit worried about why that is. Why is it with people with autism struggling so much to get a job? They're just as capable as everybody else. So I've looked into it. I've done some research. We found out reasons why this might be the case. And we thought of two opposite ends of the spectrum, supposedly. The first one is from the employers. We believe there's a lack of understanding and know-how, if you like, from employers about how to get the best out of people with autism. And it's not only about getting employment, but getting sustainable employment. Once you've got them that job, how do you keep them in that job? And they don't know. So the first thing we love to do is do that through employer training. The other side of it is we think there is, and we appreciate, there's a lack of skills or qualifications from people with autism or people on the autistic spectrum. So, once we've done the employer training, and we're not going to profess to do it ourselves, if you became a member of Aspire, we're not going to say you're going to have to know everything about autism. That's not the point. We're going to get people in who know more than us, the consultants, the specialists, get them in. On the other side of it, what we do was almost like a glorified kind of networking event, a showcase event is how I like to term it. Invite the community, invite the employers, and showcase, get groups of young people with autism between the ages of 16 and 24, and just show them, look, this is what they can do. They're actually really, really talented. Give them a job. But the thing is, those two things together, they make more of a campaign than what really SIFE is about. When you're looking at a SIFE project, you always have to think of an exit strategy. It sounds quite cold to think of that, but you always have to think, when we stop working with them, have we changed them? Or do they rely on us working with them all the time? They have to be able to cope or be better off sustainably without you once you've left that SIFE project. So, to tackle that, we're really ambitious and we really want to create a national or nationwide qualification. Almost like an employability qualification that you might have seen with ASDAN or OCR, something like that. It essentially says to the employer when they see it, they might see in the CV that they handed in or an application form that this person that's applying for the job has autism, some form of it. They think, oh, they may have some form or some particular kind of issues. They see this, let's just, for argument's sake, say the Aspire qualification. As soon as they see that qualification, they know that they can do this work experience, they can do things that make them very employable. That's a nationwide thing. That's a plan we've got over 3 years, and we're really, really excited about. So that's Aspire. The next project is a project that the people who have been here for more than 1 year will be aware of, the former SIFEs, or oldies, as Michelle Clark calls them, oldies. This one, the mentor project, is quite simple in its idea. You may have heard of a project called Aim Higher, which was introduced by the government quite a few years ago. This quite simply is a bit of a replacement by it, and it's got quite a limited availability. Myself and Adam were talking to Joe Bourne, who works at Lucy Involve, and we were talking about a mentor project the other day, and he said it was the best schools project that they've ever done. And if you bear in mind that Lucy Involve, they do this job full time, they do this all the time. We're students, this is a part-time thing. Well, it's supposed to be.
Yeah, we say that.
And he said that this is the best schools project they've ever done. So this is a really, really exciting project. It works with schools in the Lancashire area, high-performing students in low-performing schools, to summarise it as succinctly as possible. That's the mentor project.
Excellent. And of course, guys, all the stuff that we've talked about so far, that addresses kind of very direct local needs. We're talking about the shops in the town down the road, 15 minutes away on a bus. We're talking about autism, it's a bit more national. We're talking about Lancashire as a county. But of course, as you all have got from that video, the KCL video, Born in Manila, SIFE isn't limited to your local area. And in fact, we'd be selling SIFE short if we did try and limit it in that way. So what SIFE also does, and every SIFE team in the country does, we always do some international projects. You don't need to justify the social need in some of the countries that we work with. You don't need to look at poverty in these countries. I don't need to kind of sell that to you guys. So what we try and do, we try and use this business model. We try and use all the skills that you guys gain, because when you guys kind of get your GCSEs and your A-levels in business studies, that to you is kind of, that's a stepping stone, isn't it? And one day you're hoping that's going to get you into a job. But that knowledge, 500, 1,000 miles away, that might save lives. So that's what we try and do with our international project. 3 other international projects this year are continuing. They're continuing from previous years. International projects by their nature tend to be very long-run projects, so they tend to have kind of a 5-year plan and things. What we particularly want to do is we want to add some new life into these projects, because we feel like they've kind of stagnated over the past 2 or 3 years, and what we really want to do, we're taking our old model, we're going to build them back up. We're going to reassess how we're going to win at these competitions. We're going to look again, what money do we need for these projects? What context do we need? What can we be doing? One of our projects is it's a project called the Pig Project, which may work in either Uganda or Rwanda. We aren't sure. We had an argument about this before we started this presentation. Unfortunately, our international projects officer can't be here today, unfortunately. She usually does this bit, and I can assure you, is a much better looking counterpart to me and does a much better job of pitching these projects. But the Pig Project's been going for a couple of years, and what the Pig Project tries to do, in a nutshell, is it uses this, what I call the SIFE 101 model, this really basic kind of model of, let's just go out to these countries where people have literally nothing, and let's set them up a business so they can carry on just supplying for themselves. The Pig Project works along those lines, and the idea is to export livestock. The idea is that you give, I think an average, I'm not a pig man, I rarely even eat pork, but I think pigs have about 8 sort of piglets or something like that. And the idea is that if you can set up, get these people setting up a business to raise and rear pigs, and then just get them into a contract, get them into a kind of deed where every time there is a litter born, they kind of pass a few on to their local villagers, their neighbours, their friends and family, and just try and keep that going. This project has fallen slightly short of potential over the previous couple of years. We really want to get this back now, get a 5-year plan behind this project, and see what we can really do in either Rwanda or Uganda, one of the two. The second project we do is a project called Project Brazil. It's renamed this year. Last year it was called Project CCI. It used to be a project that we ran. We worked with a favela, a community centre in a favela in Rio de Janeiro. And we did a lot of great work with them. We took over computers for them, tried to get them, coming into the electronic age. We sent somebody out over there to do some training with them. But I don't want to stay with that model. What I want to do is I want to take all those great memories in your head from London 2012. Think about the Olympics, and think about where the next Olympic is, in Rio de Janeiro in 2016. What we want to do is take all that energy from London 2012. What can we do in a slum in one of the biggest cities in South America? What can we set up over there? This project it's not down in a great deal of detail, and that's a great appeal of it. That's how I can sell these international projects to you. If you kind of feel like what we've gone through so far is very pre-planned already, that you're kind of coming into a ready-made model, these projects are very open. I want you guys to come to me and tell me what we can do to rehabilitate some of the poorest people in one of the biggest cities, and soon to be one of the most important cultural cities in the world. The Zimbabwe Orphanages project, it's a project that we've run for about 5 years now. This is the simplest SIFE 101 project in the world, guys. It's had a fantastic impact over there. We work with orphanages in Zimbabwe. We set up them with various businesses. We invest and we trade. We set them up with these little businesses. So within their orphanages, within their communities, they can make a sustainable business. They can generate sustainable income. This is another project which has done some fantastic work over the past 3 or 4 years. And again, it's time now to kind of look at it and say, right, we've done that. We've done it for a while. What more can we be doing? Because it's not enough to just put another team in every year and say, just carry on. SIFE is all about innovation and moving forward. That's what we're going to do with these 3 international projects this year. So basically, guys, that rounds off the project roster that we have for this year, essentially. But you might be sitting there and you might be thinking, no, none of this is kind of, I like the idea, I like SIFE, I like what it stands for, but none of this is kind of selling to me. Maybe you think you can do better. Maybe you've sat through what by the end of it will be an hour of this, and you think it's time that we listen to you. I'm very, usually guys, SIFE's a lot bigger than this normally, and we've downsized it this year because we think if we can really get those resources in, we can do a much more effective job with these 7 projects that we're running this year. But that means that we've got a lot of spare capacity as well. So if you guys have got any idea, maybe you've got a particular cause that's close to your heart, and you think that SIFE, we've got money, we've got contacts, we've got a huge matrix of relationships that we can throw behind your project. There are certain conditions on this, I'm not going to lie about that. You know, they've got to meet our criteria, and this is, I can go back over this if needs be. This is the SIFE competition criteria, so they have to come within what we do. It has to fit within our portfolio, and you have to persuade us that we can actually really help you. But if you've got an idea, guys, we're always listening. I think this was it Friday the
next Friday, a week today.
A week today, guys. I'm going to do a little drop-in session in because I end up having hundreds of meetings over campus, and honestly, I need to save my legs a little bit. So I'm going to sit down in Learning Zone Pod 9 next Friday, guys. I'll put all this on Facebook and stuff. If you guys, please do email me, please do chat to me after the session. But if you've got an idea, by all means, come along to that session. I'll make sure it's really well marketed. And of course, you can come on with any other kind of SIFE-related queries. I think you'll be there for a few hours. I'll definitely be there for the whole period, even if my lecturers don't like it very much. So basically, guys, Rebecca, who's our lovely HR officer over there, wearing Lucy purple in a SIFE talk, is going to come along. Basically, Rebecca's going to do a quick spiel, guys, about if you want to get involved. Hopefully, we've hooked you with this now. How you can get involved with SIFE Lancaster this year.
Hi, so I'm HR and Welfare, so if you do become part of SIFE and you have any queries about recruitment or being part of a member, I'm the person you have to talk to. For each of the different projects, there are sort of a different recruitment process. All of them will involve an application form, and then after the application form, there might be like little informal interviews or sort of like group assessments to decide whether you are right for that project or that project is right for you, because we do want people to be the right people for the right projects, because then we'll get the most out of them. So how can you get involved? Basically, you need to decide which project you are interested in. You can be interested in more than one at this stage, but you can't be in more than one team. So at the end of the session, on this table, there are lists with each project on it, and you need to put your name and your email address. We will email you the application form by the end of this weekend, I would say, and then you need to fill it in to the best of your ability and send it back to us, and all the details will be in that email. I think by the middle of week 2.
Please bear with us, guys, because there's a bit of an admin nightmare for us in a minute. But yes, we would endeavour to get back to it by week 2.
Yeah, we will let you know the outcome of your application and whether you're successful, and when you will be called back for an interview, group assessment thing, or whatever you do. Good luck.
I might make a few adjunct points onto the end of that, guys. Just to say, I know it sounds a bit kind of like we've sat you through all this, and then I kind of throw out all these, you've got to fill out a form, you've got to do some bloody paperwork. What I want you to know, guys, is that the way because I've designed a template form for this, I did that yesterday actually. And the way these forms, they're quirky, guys. They're not. I'm not interested in your kind of your A levels or your academics. I know you're clever. I know you're creative. That's why you're here. I'm interested about why this particular project appeals to you. So these forms, it won't take. If you spend more than half an hour on it, you spent too long on it. It's a quick thing. We want to hear, guys, what we can do better. We want you to tell us. We want us to give you to give us ideas. So please, if we put up by this process, guys. It's just an admin thing we have to appoint somehow, and this is just the way we decided to do this year. Please, if we put off about it. Maybe as well, maybe you like more than one of our projects. Maybe you like the kind of general SIFE idea. You don't have one of your own, but you still want to get involved. And great that you can do that. We have an events team. SIFE's quite a big society, and we do an awful lot, and all our projects run their own events. So one of the ways we do, we don't just have kind of 1 or 2 social sects, we have a kind of small team headed up by our good friend Rachel York. If you're interested in joining that, which is basically going to be organising SIFE events for this year and helping out all of our projects. So you're going to be able to stay involved with all of our projects, keep abreast of everything's going on. Please do email r.york@lancaster.ac.uk. She's currently, I don't know what process she's using, I think she's a lot more informal and less rigorous than we are. But by means, please do go and chat to her, because she'll be absolutely delighted to hear from you. And that's basically it, guys. If you can't get out to the front to sign these forms, by all means, please do. With any queries, come to us at SIFE@lancaster.ac.uk. We try and make ourselves as easy to find as possible. You can always Facebook us or whatever as well. And that's basically what I have to say, guys, except to thank you so warmly for coming on today. We hope we've done a good job.
The pizza's on its way as well. It's the most important thing of all.
And we've got our webmasters currently jogging back from pizza with a lot of pizzas, but that's great for now. I might change that one. That's fine for now. Great opportunity now, guys, to just kind of mingle around for 5 minutes. We've got your lot of food on the way. Thank you so much for coming. Cheers.